I watched my cousin pull Grandma's stolen ring from his pocket while 30 family members gasped in horror. The metal detector in my hand kept beeping like a heartbeat, like justice. My name is Ethan. I'm 28, and until that moment at our family reunion, I was invisible. The quiet one. The boring cousin who spent weekends helping Grandma Rose with her garden instead of partying. But being invisible has its advantages. You see things others don't. You notice when your cousins steal from the dead. 3 months earlier, Grandma Rose died in her sleep. 91 years old, still sharp enough to beat anyone at cards. The whole family gathered for her funeral, crying and hugging and pretending we'd all been perfect grandchildren. I stood in the back, watching my cousins Blake and Sierra dab at their eyes with tissues that never got wet. The next morning, we met at Grandma's house to sort through her things. Her will was clear, every item accounted for in her perfect handwriting, except for one thing, her sapphire ring, the one Grandpa gave her after the war, the one she wore every single day for 70 years, the one she left to my mother. Gone. Blake was the first to notice. He made a big show of searching everywhere, turning over cushions, checking drawers. He said the funeral home must have stolen it. Said we should call the police. Sierra nodded along, suggesting we check online reviews for other theft complaints. They performed concern like actors in a bad movie. Something twisted in my gut as I watched them. Maybe it was how Blake knew exactly which drawer to check first. Maybe it was how Sierra avoided looking at Grandma's jewelry box. Or maybe it was just instinct, the same feeling you get when someone's lying to your face. My mother spent the next week crying, not just for losing her mother, but for losing the one thing Grandma specifically wanted her to have. She kept saying the ring wasn't about money, it was about connection, history, the promise that she'd wear it to my wedding someday, just like Grandma wore it to hers. I stayed at Grandma's house to help pack. Officially, I was moving boxes. Unofficially, I was hunting for that ring. I searched everywhere, under floorboards, inside books, even through the trash before it went to the curb. Nothing. But I found something else. Hidden in Grandma's address book was a note in her shaky handwriting. Thursday, B and S here. Looking through my things, they think I don't see. Ethan, you always noticed what others missed. Be careful.
Thursday, 2 days before she died, when supposedly no one visited because she was feeling sick.
I showed my parents the note. Dad said we couldn't accuse family without proof. Mom was too broken to fight. Everyone else wanted to move on, except the ring was gone. But I couldn't. Grandma taught me to stand up for what's right, especially when it's hard. So I started watching Blake and Sierra. Really watching. Blake suddenly had a new BMW. Said he'd been saving for years, but I knew his salary. Sierra quit her job to start a boutique. Said she got a business loan, but what bank gives loans to someone with her credit? They stopped coming to family dinners, started posting photos from expensive restaurants, and whenever anyone mentioned the ring, they'd share this quick look. Just a flash, but enough. I knew they had it. I just needed proof. Our annual family reunion was scheduled 3 months after Grandma's death. Every summer, the whole family gathered at Uncle Ray's lake house, fishing, barbecue, pretending we all got along. This year felt different. Grandma's absence was a hole nothing could fill. Blake and Sierra showed up like nothing happened. Blake brought his new girlfriend, showing off his designer watch. Sierra handed out business cards for her boutique, bragging about her success. They hugged everyone, smiled their fake smiles, acted like they hadn't robbed our dead grandmother. I watched Blake flash his wealth, watched Sierra talk about expensive inventory, and that sick feeling in my stomach hardened into something else. A plan. The second morning, I announced I'd brought entertainment, a metal detector I'd bought for beach trips, suggested we could hunt for old coins around the property. The kids loved it. Some adults groaned, but Uncle Ray said it sounded fun. I kept it casual. Let the kids go first, help them find quarters and bottle caps. Everyone gathered on the lawn, laughing and cheering. Then I turned to Blake with a friendly smile. I mentioned checking for metal in pockets. Wouldn't want interference with the detector. He laughed, patted his pockets, said he was clear. That's when I swept the detector over him. The beeping was instant, loud, accusing. Blake's laugh died. He claimed it was his keys. I suggested he remove them. He did. Still beeping. His phone next. Still beeping. His belt buckle. Still beeping. The family circle tightened. Kids stopped playing. Adults stopped talking. Sierra tried joking about Blake eating pennies, but her voice cracked like glass. I held the detector steady over his front pocket. The beeping was relentless, almost angry. Uncle Ray asked what else Blake had in there. Mom stepped forward, hope and fury burning in her eyes. Blake's hands shook as he reached into his pocket. Everything slowed. I heard birds singing, boats on the lake, my own heart pounding. Then his hand emerged. Grandma's ring caught the sunlight like blue fire. Silence. 30 people frozen, staring at that ring in Blake's trembling palm. Then Sierra made a strangled sound and tried to run. Aunt Carol caught her arm, not rough, but firm. The grip that says you're not going anywhere. Blake started babbling, found it in his car, was going to return it, had no idea how it got there. But guilt was written across his face in sweat and shame. I pulled out Grandma's note, read it aloud, voice steady even though my hands weren't. Blake's girlfriend stepped away from him like he was diseased. Sierra started crying. Not sad tears, but the tears of someone caught red-handed. Mom took the ring from Blake's palm, gentle, like it might vanish again. She slipped it on, and it fit perfectly. Then she looked at Blake and Sierra, her nephews, kids she'd known since birth, and told them to leave. No shouting, no drama, just quiet words that hit harder than screams. Uncle Ray backed her up. Then everyone else, one by one, turning away until Blake and Sierra stood alone in our family circle. They left without arguing. What could they say? They drove away in Blake's BMW, dust clouding behind them, and I felt Grandma's presence, not mystically, but in how the family united, how we protected what mattered. The reunion changed after that, lighter, despite everything. We shared real stories about Grandma, not the polished versions. Mom wore the ring constantly, touching it like a talisman. That night by the lake, Dad squeezed my shoulder, the most emotion he'd shown in years. Mom held my hand, the ring cool against my palm. She asked how I knew Blake would have it on him. I told her the truth. I didn't know for certain, but I knew Blake's arrogance, his need to keep trophies close. I bet on his pride and won. What I didn't mention was the weeks I'd practiced with that detector, learning its sounds, its settings, rehearsing my casual approach. Because if I was wrong, I'd just be the weird cousin with a metal detector. But if I was right, Blake and Sierra never returned to family gatherings. I heard Blake sold the BMW. Sierra's boutique failed within months. Maybe coincidence. Maybe Grandma's universe balancing itself. The ring waits in Mom's jewelry box for my wedding day, just as Grandma planned. Sometimes Mom wears it while gardening or cooking Grandma's recipes. Says it makes her feel connected. I kept the metal detector, found interesting things on beaches, but nothing as valuable as the truth it uncovered that day. Nothing as important as justice beeping in Blake's pocket while his lies crumbled. Family is complicated, love tangled with greed, trust mixed with betrayal. Grandma knew this. She'd seen it all in 91 years. But she also knew someone has to stand up. Someone has to say enough. Someone has to protect what matters. She chose me, left that note like a trail of breadcrumbs, knowing I'd follow, knowing I'd find a way to make things right. Not with anger, but with patience, with a metal detector and perfect timing. I still have her note pressed in a photo album. Sometimes I read it, hearing her voice in those shaky letters. Ethan, you always noticed what others missed. Not a warning, a mission, a reminder that seeing truth is only half the battle. The other half is doing something about it. The family is different now, smaller but stronger. We learned who we could trust when it mattered. We learned Grandma's values lived on, not in things, but in choices. In stands we take. And somewhere, Grandma Rose is smiling, sitting in her eternal garden, sapphire ring catching endless sun, watching her family finally see what she always saw. That some things are worth fighting for. That truth needs light. That sometimes the quiet one becomes exactly who the family needs. The ring is safe, the family is healing, and I still notice what others miss. Just like Grandma taught me.